countless hours that we're working like outside of your normal workday.
Right.
It's never an 8-hour day and then you go home and you just turn it off. That's not what we do. I'll even be mowing my lawn, thinking about details on the job, you know?
What's up, guys? So we have a sad day. This is going to be the last episode of Coffee Break. So this is Coffee Break 30, but it's going to be the first episode of the Nick Schiffer Podcast. We decided to change the name due to searchability to help you guys get more of this content directed to you under an easier search title. As always, if you guys have questions for the show, make sure you drop them in the comments below. Whether it's on YouTube, you can feel free to send a message to NSB Video on Instagram. And if you guys are watching or listening to this on iTunes, make sure you drop us a review. But this week, I pulled a question from a comment on YouTube. I think it was part of a larger question, but it was simply, do you guys like working together? So today I have Mike Hume, who's been with me the longest. He is a project manager here at NS Builders. And I figured, who better to talk about whether they like working with each other than Mike. And oddly enough, we were just in a meeting talking about probably one of the more difficult times that we have had here doing a small project out in New York City where... Yeah, it's like, well, it came up because... Something came up about New York City. I'm just like, I'm good with ever going back. You don't
there.
ever want to visit
I don't
because
want to visit
this
that
little
again.
job that I had politely asked him to drive out to and come back in one day to do went really sour.
Yeah.
And I was really mad at Mike at the time. But let's dissect this a little bit because not New York, but us working together. And I talk about this a lot. Feel free to chime in and cut me off, but a lot of times people are seeing what we do through a filter.
Absolutely.
And they get to see all the cool stuff we do. They see the final result. And it's not necessarily something that we're trying to be deceiving with. It's just just kind of how it comes
I guess
about.
like outside looking in, you're going to be like looking at it and it's like, well, you're working in like this dream world. And it's like, well, no, this is very much a normal job. Like, oh, we'll put normal in quotes, right? But it's a normal job, And
like every one of our projects, it's, there is tremendous amounts of pressure.
Yeah.
And, from you to me, from me to you, from the client to us, it's really the entire job has the amount of pressure. And what we, really aim to do is that every single project we look back, it's like we just finished a project where I put an unnecessary amount of pressure on you. And admittedly, and, we've talked about this, obviously offline, and it's, and I can blame whatever I want. I can blame the fact that COVID and we're in a pandemic and rightfully so, but that doesn't matter. It's, we need to step back and realize that what we're doing and, and was the pressure warranted or not? And, but in general, so you've been here, you're coming up on 5 years?
4. Feels like 5, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like 20, in a good way. All right, so coming up on 4 years, looking back at 4 years, well, let me start with this. Why did you choose to come here?
I guess back then, right? We were looking at what you were doing, but it was mainly you, and you had like a couple guys helping you out. But I was kind of looking at like more big picture and the way you were driving, and it was like, well, what he's building is really cool. We kind of want to go see what that's all about. So it started kind of as a joke at first, but we have a mutual friend that I think we ended up going to JLC together. We met through that, and then it was like follow you on Instagram and then Snapchat and whatnot. And then it was like watching what you were building, and I saw what I was doing. I was, in construction with my father, but he's old school construction. He's happy doing what he's doing. I wanted to kind of push to go to that next level, and I saw this as a great opportunity. And I also saw it as, well, if I don't go and try this, I'm going to live the rest of my life wondering what if, and I didn't want to do that. So I'd rather go figure out what Boston's all about, fail, and then just regroup and go back to what I was doing. Like, you could easily do that. But
do you look back and think that what you were seeing prior to coming here was filtered?
No. I don't think it was. I don't think it was filtered.
So, I mean, do you think, all right, so now fast forward 4 years, do what you see us promoting the work that we're doing,
Yeah.
do you think that people can perceive that as filtered?
I wouldn't say there's really a filter on anything. It's just we have Doug.
Doug makes us great.
Yeah. But even like the video that he was just editing, we were just looking at that going, oh my God, it literally looks like a rendering. But I was with Doug on Friday when he was filming that, and it's incredible.
Let me backtrack a little bit. I don't mean from an execution, like what the work looks like. I guess what I mean is like the way it's put together, the way, I think
what's being left out.
Yeah. I think what is being left out as far as like all
dynamic,
the dynamic, yeah, like what goes into it. It's like I feel like so many people look at what we do and they're like, man, it must be so nice to work with everyone that just gets along all the time and you never have issues and you get to work on the coolest stuff and you just always nail it. And I'm like, none of that's true.
None of that's true.
Like we like each other, but there's
if we didn't, we wouldn't be working together, right?
Right, but like there's times where we butt heads, but even more so, I feel like the amount of stress and strain and pressure that goes on to doing what we do, from even yourself, like you hold yourself to a very high level where it's like oftentimes, I don't even get the opportunity to say, hey, let's rethink that. You're already doing that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask the question again. Do you think that people have a false sense of what the amount of effort that goes into what we do?
I guess in that aspect, yeah, maybe, definitely could, because people aren't seeing the, like my hour commute home where I'm completely dissecting one like step of the project that we're doing, figuring out like, all right, well, if this doesn't line up with that, or if that doesn't line up with that, and I'm just breaking it down, and then, all of a sudden you wake up at 2:00 in the morning, and then I'm like, hey, I got this great idea,
yeah.
And then you're up like the rest of the night. There's like, I can't even like countless hours that we're working like outside of your normal work day.
Right.
Because it's never an 8-hour day and then you go home and you just turn it off. That's not what we do.
Right.
It's like we take everything, and it's like I'll even be mowing my lawn thinking about details on the job.
And that there's massive benefit to that, but the massive downside to that is when it's wrong, when it's bad.
Yeah.
And it's like when there's pressure on the job, or when we're butting heads or arguing or working through something or dealing with adversity in something. It's like now you're going home and that 2:00 wake up or the lawnmower ride isn't really fun. It's, almost combative. And, I feel like I speak for a lot of people here is that we make these situations up in our head. And I had this conversation with someone just the other day where when it's like fighting with your spouse, right? Or you read a text wrong and you think like they're all pissed off. So you don't even respond. You make up this whole situation in your mind where it's like, this is like, she's mad, so I'm going to be mad at her, and I get home, and then it's like, you just compound it. And and I think about that in business, and it's like, for whatever reason, we're wired to think worst case scenario.
100%.
Where it's like, I've been, in a position where it's like, what if I don't get paid? If I don't get paid, then I can't pay them. And if I can't pay them, they're going to come after me and I'm going to get sued. And then all of a sudden I find myself that it's me, my wife, and 2 kids homeless. Like that's where my mind ended up. And it's like, wait a second, that's if every worst case scenario happened. And the chances of the first worst case scenario happening is so little, right?
Pick up the phone.
So with going back to the question, let's be brutally honest, right? Where it's like, yes, we get along, we like working with each other, but what about the times that we don't get along? Like what are some of the things that you've realized that you can bring to the table or that you need to voice, or like how are you working through the difficult times?
Communication. And that's not something that I did previously. Before I would just kind of like bundle it all up and you just take it home with you, and then I'm at home like cursing you out or something.
Yeah. Which I hate knowing that happened.
And then my wife's pissed at me.
Right.
But I think like recently we sat down and we had, a good conversation, and then we followed up with a couple of them since then. And it's like, well, part of all the stress that was on that last project is because I just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, yeah, all right, this is what needs to be done, so I'm just going to figure out how to get it done. But then it's like, if we just opened that communication earlier and I went, here, I need A, B, C, D. All right. he didn't hear me the first time. Stop him, shake him a little bit. I need A, B, C, D. And then it's like, all right. Sometimes like we're all running. We're going 100 miles an hour in every different direction. And sometimes you do got to maybe put a little extra effort into making sure you get what you need. But, I think it all starts with that communication and just making sure that everybody's on the same page. If you're not, then there's no way it's going to work out.
Right. It's the same thing. It's like that fighting with your spouse. It's you play these scenarios out in your head where it's like, you think I'm out to get you, and then you're pissed at me, and then like when I ask you to do something that like I'm like, hey, you mind grabbing this on your ride into work? It's like, F off, bro. And it's like
off the deep end.
Like where did that come from? And it's everything we talk about in this business is communication. I think it
really is.
And I only can speak to this industry because this is the industry I'm in, but I feel like the communication is constantly just the failure point from client relationship. And now we're talking about internal relationship.
Yeah.
And having that,
same thing. It's like me to the guys, like all the way down the chain. It's like you got to just communicate.
Yeah.
Talk, figure out where people are, figure out where their head's at. Somebody's unhappy, figure out how to, correct that and push them in the right direction. Or if like there's something between us, it's like, hey, just sit down, have that conversation, be like, listen, like I was saying, like we got to do this or we got to do that. And then I feel like that can take the whole company to the next level.
Yeah. And to further on this, and maybe we can get into this in a future episode, but one of the things we've talked about on the Modern Craftsman podcast is like reviews and like employee reviews and things like that. And my dear friend John combats me saying that that it should just be more organic and that I should just have a good pulse on what's going on, which I don't feel as though I'm necessarily completely removed there. I think I can always have a better pulse. But what are your thoughts, directly, we're going through November, which is one of our employee review times, but compare,
I guess our reviews in the past versus what we just did. Because like before, I think
I was gonna say, what do you find more beneficial? Is like the structured reviews or the touch points, or do you find both of them? The touch points meaning like, hey, like just stopping like once a week and just catching up.
There's definitely benefit to both of them. I'm personally a fan of the structured review. I like writing it down. And then we're like both on the same page when you're walking out of the review, and it's like, all right, you have a good thing to go back to for your next one. It's like, all right, we need you to hit this mark or hit that mark or, step it up. And so it's a good way to track things, where if it's more casual, it's like, well, I don't remember what he said or she said, or you're going back and forth and like, oh man, did I really say that?
Yeah. And
so it's good to write that down.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to. It's not so much where it's structured, where it's like you're going to get this done, and this is how we're going to do it. But it's reflecting, right? So in 6 months, when we sit down again, we can go back and be like, oh yeah, we were talking about being better at this, and you've we're definitely trending in that. Or hey, I was gonna I was supposed to implement this to make your job easier. How am I doing on that? Like, have I met that your expectation? So I mean, I think again, this one comes back to communication, and while there's been times we've cursed each other's names, we enjoy working with one another, and I would say that that's probably widespread throughout the company. Yeah. But I only have room for 2 people on this screen. So guys, if you have questions for a future episode, drop them in the comments below. Mike is mike.hume on Instagram. And as always, we will see you next week on the Nick Schiffer Podcast.
It's got a nice ring to it.
I like it.
It fits.